How we doing out there? I'm Mark, and I'll be your host today. And on today's topic, and hold on a second there. Okay, I was doing a sound check. Um, Kind of came on by itself through my other page on YouTube, and anyway, let me turn my mic up a little bit. Yeah, so I can hear you, hear me, hear you. And let me check my chat, see who's in there. Cheers, Wicked. Okay, I was just checking. And yeah, today's topic, and it has to do with manifestation, making time for God. Basically, it's you're making time for yourself. That's what you're doing. If you make time for God, you're making time for yourself. A lot of people don't understand that if you make time for God, that's the most important time to make time for yourself. It's the most awarding, most succeeding thing that you can do for yourself. And I'm going to explain that, why that is. Let me give you a brief history of myself. I grew up in rough neighborhoods, and I would say half of my childhood was spent in predominantly black neighborhoods, rough neighborhoods, uh, criminal neighborhoods. Not not everyone, because I'm not saying all black people are criminal or bad. Matter of fact, I have black relatives that are related to me. Um, so, but I grew up in predominantly black neighborhoods through half of my childhood, at least that much. Yeah, I've had knives pulled, guns pulled on me, gangs jump me, running home from gangs year after year, and so on. And I survived that. Not everyone in my family did. I came from a family of seven. I have, I have two sisters and four brothers, seven of us. And we all lived in this bad neighborhood. I even went to school during fifth and sixth grade in the projects where every other house was vacant. And during that time frame, my oldest brother was murdered. to talk about faith, how strong. I mean, everyone's going to go through trials, tribulations, errors in their lives. Your life, who I'm speaking to. So, growing up, I was from a non religious type family. We didn't really go to church. We didn't practice religion or a religious faith or belief. Did we believe in God? I would say yes, but we didn't know the full extent of what that meant. And my dad, he 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 was a strict dad, and but he never pushed religion on us. Yeah, anything we wanted to believe in as far as religious beliefs and God, that was allowed, at any extent. If I wanted to go across the street and go to a Bible Baptist prayer meeting, which I did, I can do that. And of course, what my intentions were at the time could have been different, than your typical person that would go to an event like that. I mean, I was a little kid. I didn't know any better. I was showing up for the cookies. you know, hey, if you read this, read that, be a part of this and that, you get some cookies. So that was my way of getting cookies, I guess. But through the years, I never really wasn't taught the proper way of being taught how to believe in stuff and to believe in myself. And that's the thing back then. And before the internet, I would say for everyone, uh, man, you know how powerful the internet is. It's a powerful tool. I mean, think about all the stuff you never were capable of doing, even on a PC. But in general, speaking, um, that you can do now. Of course, we did stuff that was cool before the internet. I'm not going to deny that. But thinking about in the terms of information and learning, that's what I'm talking about. Not just looking at hot girls and cool cars and stuff like that. Talking about learning, you know, things that you can benefit from, uh, such as manifestation. I didn't know what the hell that was. You didn't. A lot of us didn't. I would say most people didn't know what that meant. Manifestation, like manifest what? How is that? How do you do that? You know, I mean, you might be familiar with the word, but how does that work in your life? And we're told, you know, what to believe and what not to believe. Now, excuse me. I would say, in in terms of my dad, he did a good thing as far as saying believe in what you want to believe in, as long as it's morally right. You know, but don't let me, you know, tell you what you should and shouldn't believe in, as far as religion goes too. And I thank him for that because, um, you know, it gives you an open mind and a free choice. You're not restricted. There's no stipulations. So I took that for granted to say, uh, I would say, it allowed me to have an open mind towards any type of belief. I wasn't restricting myself from what I wanted to, excuse me, from what I wanted to believe in. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Believing. Now, here's the part. Now, to go forward some years from my childhood, yeah, I went through a rough childhood and bad neighborhoods and such. Lost a brother who was murdered. Make a long story short, my youngest son was murdered just 2 years ago. So, yeah, I grew up in a poor neighborhood and a poor family. We didn't have a lot. So, fast forward decades, you know, I had raised a family and kids. Like I said, lost a son. And it took me, I swear to God, it took me until like I was 50 to, I guess, be considered a Christian and a born again Christian without even being a Christian first. It's kind of weird like that. Like I had already done it, but I didn't. It's weird. It's a strange feeling supernaturally. Let me tell you this story, how I became a believer in more or less the divine spirit, God, and Lord Jesus Christ. The story about Christ. Yeah, a lot of people are skeptics, and a lot of people say, no, he's not the one, he's not the Messiah, he's not this, he's not that. Speaking of Jesus, but he is. I'm trying to gather my thoughts on what I'm going to say next. Um, but yeah, he is. At least I got to experience that. I can't speak for everyone. You have to go through it yourself. I'm just giving you guys stories and guidance and information, educational and stuff like that, entertaining. But from my own experiences, uh, good day, Blaze, in chat and Wicked. Um, hold on a second. Grab something here. Piece of info. Help me out here in a second. Also on the YouTube site. Get over to StreamYard. Anyway, so getting back to the story I'm about ready to tell you. So it was back in 2008, and this was crazy. I met this guy, and you know how to go back and backtrack some before I became uh, more involved, I guess you would say, with God and Jesus Christ and so on, the divine spirit, spirituality. And to this day, I would consider myself Christian in the sense of the way Christianity is supposed to be looked at. And I believe it's supposed to be looked at as a way of life and not a religious thing, but more or less a way of life and how to do things the right way, say things, and your actions and your words. They have to be good, you know. They have to be in good and in a good place. They have to be good. They have to be. Let me tell you why. If you had a choice to be good or evil, how simple is that? What do you choose? You're probably going to say one or the other, right? Most likely, if you're here, you're going to say good. I don't think you're going to be hanging around on a live stream with me telling you stuff that I'm about ready to tell you that I already have if you're thinking evil, because we already know evil is out there. But we have a choice. Is it good or is it evil that we're looking for in our lives? And with that said, you're going to ask yourself, is it positive or negative things, people, so on, that we are looking for in our lives? The answer to that would probably be, since you're here, positive things, good people, positive people. Not that negative shit. We don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that in your life. It doesn't mix. It's not a good mixture. It doesn't fit the ingredients of the other ingredients to make something good. If you make a good cake, you want good ingredients. to have a good cake. Same thing with our thoughts, our actions, our words. If you want something good, hey, display it. Don't think the opposite. You can't have good and think bad. Bad thoughts, bad this, bad that. Oh, I never win. Oh, I feel sick. No, just the opposite. It's that simple. I wouldn't say it's simple, but in that sense, you see what I'm saying? If you don't want to be sick, don't remind yourself. You don't remind yourself that you're poor if you want to be rich. That's a key. That's a message. That's some important information I'm telling you. That's some real stuff. You want to change your your circumstances. You want to change your life. I would suggest changing your thought process. That's what it took me. And here it goes. I'm going to explain it. Back to that story. I met this guy in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area. You ever hear the saying, don't judge a book by its cover? Well, there you go. For instance, if you saw me, as you see on my avatar on the screen, I look like a hippie. I look like, some freak or whatever you want to label. Some long hair guy, he probably smokes weed. Yeah, that's true. Long hair, smokes weed. But a lot of people don't understand what's inside that head, what's inside my mind and head, and my experiences in life. You don't even have to be a pastor. You don't even have to be, some people told me, yeah, you could be a pastor, you could be a minister. Hey, I could talk a little fast and wild and crazy. Right now, I want you to understand stuff. And I can tell you the same stuff any evangelist can. I can tell you anything that anybody who studied Christianity can tell you in a sense of how to go about your life. It's not hard. You don't have to read the whole Bible to understand things. I would suggest the New Testament and the Holy Bible, St. James Version, and read scriptures, and you make sense of them. There's things or Bibles out there that have explanations. Everybody's got their little take. But here's one, because I'm going to go back to the story in St. Louis where I met this guy. And things turned around for me. But I think the fact that I had some faith in God, not so much Jesus Christ as much as God because I didn't learn enough in my childhood years to, have any faith in any person. I, I, I'm still learning, right? So I turned 50. I'm like, damn, a half century. I was standing in lottery lines trying to win money, and I tell you the truth, this is going to be a part of the story. I stood in lines for years, hours and hours, trying to win some shit, win some money. I couldn't figure it out. Why are people winning and I'm not? I was one of those fools that thought that way. You don't have to think that way. I did. I didn't realize back when I was younger, we have a conscious mind. We use our five senses. And we have a subconscious mind that we use indirectly and directly. I didn't know this back then when I was growing up. I didn't know this stuff until I turned like 50, because of the internet. You know, I was hot on that shit though. I was like, man, I'm gonna learn some stuff. Watch. There was so much to pick up on. And I learned about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and how scientifically, neurologically, there is such a thing as the subconscious mind. It takes anything and everything you want to feed it. Word after word, action after action, thought after thought. It accepts anything and everything. Why? Because it doesn't know the difference about what you want to feed it. What are you throwing at it on a constant basis with your thoughts, your words, and your actions? I didn't know this stuff growing up. I studied it to make a long story short before I go back and tell you this story, how I got here and how it can help you too. And so this subconscious thing we have in all of us, a lot of us don't know how it operates. We don't know a thing about it unless we study the subject. If you don't study a subject, you don't know about that subject. So I learned about the subconscious mind. I read books on it, on the subject. I listened to experts speak on it. People that knew about it way before me. So, so back to St. Louis. I run into this guy. Like I said, don't judge a book by its cover. People will think I'm a long-haired drug addict, maybe a drug dealer, maybe a biker. Who fucking knows? But anyway, I meet this guy, and he looks to me like an Arab Muslim. That's what I'm thinking. This guy's some Arab Muslim, maybe from Saudi. Who knows? I don't know. I don't friggin' know. He looks Middle Eastern. I get to talking with him. The words that came out of this dude's mouth sounded nothing like he looked. He sounded like another white guy. I was like, what? So, his personality and everything, we hit it off. We still talk to this day. It's crazy. You see me going through a lot. I've seen him go through a lot. He's been shot twice in a bad neighborhood. He's almost lost his life. I've been there talking with him through that. Because, he worked in those bad stores, and that's where I met him the neighborhood at that time wasn't bad where I met him, but he started working elsewhere where and got shot a couple of times. But getting back to this dude, we were just hitting off with our personalities and things we had in common and stuff. We hung out and partied together and stuff. And like I said, I still wasn't there all the way with God and the Jesus Christ thing and all that. And this guy had something that I didn't, as far as a little bit of information. And he seemed to have swept it aside or kind of forgot some of it. Or maybe he didn't study all of it. Who knows? I never really questioned that I can recall whether or not he finished reading a book that he turned me on to. This was I'm at his apartment one time. We're over there partying it up. I see this hardback cover book on his table, and it looked kind of old, maybe from the 50s. I don't know. I'm guessing, you know, just from the looks of it, like an old book from the library with a red hardback cover. Not very big. It wasn't. So I started thumbing through this thing, and first of all, it's by a author named Robert Collier. Robert Collier. Collier. Robert. Robert. And anyway, the name of the book was Riches Within Your Reach. And I'm thinking, it kind of sparked my interest. I was thinking, damn, riches within my reach? Am I going to reach riches? Let me read this. Man, I swear to God, from the first page, I couldn't put that book down. That's how much that book attracted me. I don't know if it was just something I was interested in listening to or hearing about or reading about, but from page one to the end, there's probably, I'm guessing, 500 pages. Making long story short, I read that book 5 times from front to back. At one point, I'm not making this up. Everything, every time I read that book and finished it, something good would happen to me. And it was really crazy. So that's when I, uh, I started experiencing things uh, based on what I read in that book, because it took me forever explaining what I read. I'm gonna have to do another live stream just to finish this up, probably. But it was really supernatural. This guy that I got this book from, he goes, "Hey man, you can borrow it." Because I said to him, "Dude, where'd you get this book?" Oh, it was from some woman that was in a nursing home. My mom knew her or worked for her or something like that. Maybe it was a relative of his that was in a nursing home. She said, "Here, you can have this." His name was Mohammed, not Mohammed, but Mohammed. And he said, "You can borrow this book, Mark. Go ahead, borrow it. But I do want it back." And I made sure he got it back. Long story short, I bought one off of Amazon, paperback, same book, just a different cover. Riches Within Your Reach, Robert Collier. So I read the thing front to back. Good things start happening. Then I read another book called The Powers of Your Subconscious Mind. Remember, I was telling you about the subconscious mind and how it's different from the conscious mind. So, the subconscious mind, this book was written about by a guy named Dr. Joseph Murphy. Check that one out. Real short and simple, to the point, real easy to read. All these books are. If you can read, you can understand and comprehend. So I read that book too, to understand the powers of the subconscious mind and how it operates, how it works for us, for you, for me. So I borrowed that guy's book and went and bought one myself. Till this day, I still have all those books. I even bought Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, another popular bestseller. All these things are related. All these books are related. They're related in subject matter. the same stuff. How to manifest things in your life based on the golden rule, the divine spirit, your thought process, your subconscious mind, and what you're feeding it. Oh, yeah, you're feeding it, whether you know it or not, whether it's directly or indirectly. Cheers, Jet Wars and chat. Yeah. So here's where that change came in about the story. The change in my life based on my thoughts. Remember, I said I stood in line for years and didn't win shit, not a penny. Spent many a dollars on lottery tickets and never won shit. And now I know why. I've been knowing why for almost the past 20 years. Because I did something about it almost 20 years ago. And I'm talking from experience. You know, I'm not just making stuff up. So after reading these books and understanding how God and Jesus Christ and the divine spirit works, after understanding all that, what do you think came next? It had to have been a test, right? Well, let me put this to the test. Let me experiment and see how this works. So the same guy I got this book from that's triggered all this, who I am today, it started from that book. It came and stemmed outward from that book. Riches within your reach. And I'm not suggesting you have to do it in the same order that I did, but I got riches within your reach. I got Joseph Murphy's Powers of Your Subconscious Mind, and Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And then you got others and others out there that are basically maybe getting a little bit better with their, delivery or their message. And I'm still learning. It seems, to a degree. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, you got to pray and pray. What's prayer? Prayer is power of suggestion. It's meditation. That's what prayer is. It's a power of suggestion through meditative thought. And just like a hypnotist would hypnotize you through power of suggestion, you can do the same thing for yourself through meditative thought. Have I meditated? Yes. Do I meditate as much as I should be? No. I should be meditating more than I should. because I believe if I do, I'm going to manifest a lot quickly, a lot more efficiently, and a lot more abundance of whatever I'm trying to manifest. So going back to saying, "Oh, I've never won shit," man, I didn't know or realize I was sabotaging myself with my thoughts back then. What I was telling myself was, "Hey, you're a loser. You're a loser, buddy." Whether it's you or somebody else telling you that, guess what? Whether it's you saying it out loud or thinking that, guess what? Their subconscious mind just opened its mouth, opened its lid, and lets you throw it right in, right in. Oh, yeah. And guess what? Here's the thing about the subconscious, it wants to give you more of what it is taking in. Now you're starting to understand. Why would you want to give something to feed something that's going to give you something in return? The same thing that you're giving it. So if you don't want to be sick, poor, or anything of negative value, you can't think it. You can't repeat it. You can't say it. You can't write it down without being awarded, compensated for it. How? Through your subconscious mind. It picks up on it, and through the subconscious, it links as a transmitter and receiver to the divine spirit in the universe of what you want in return, like a boomerang. So if you don't want shit, don't give shit. Don't start shit, and there won't be shit. That's that's a little easier for you to understand for all you street guys out there. That's what they meant by that. Little did you know, whether directly or indirectly, whether you're thinking it or saying it out loud, your subconscious mind picks up on it and it wants to give you more, more of what you gave it. That's how the subconscious operates. It took me 50 years to figure that one out. Why? Because I'm older than you. And I didn't have the internet around back. But since I had the internet, I was able to pick up on a lot of stuff, a lot of learning. I mean, I don't need uh, to be, yeah, I went to college. I attended a university. I dropped out of college, but I don't need college or anything beyond that. Education like a master's degree, to have common sense and belief that you could be the richest and smartest person in the world, but not have any common sense. and even common sense to know enough how to go about life. Yeah, it takes some common sense. Unless you want to go about life stupid, go ahead, keep doing the same stupid mistakes because you didn't have common sense. You can't really learn it. It's either you have it or you don't. But at the same time, you don't want to be pessimistic and closed minded. Closed minded. You want to be open minded to things, optimistic, how to think for yourself, how to believe in yourself. If you don't, I suggest you do in order to have things. Because our thoughts, our words, and actions become things. And I don't even have to mention Jesus Christ, and God all through what I've been talking about here. In order for you to understand, that's what they were teaching. That's what God wants you to know. And that's what Jesus Christ was teaching. He was a teacher, not a preacher. He was teaching people how to use their own mind. Let me take you to a scripture. If I ain't mistaken, it's St. Mark. Scripture. It says, "He who thinketh becometh." What do you think they were talking about? What do you think Jesus was talking about there? He was talking about in scripture, you become what you think about the most. He who thinketh becometh. He didn't go on and say, well, if you think about this most burning desire you have of something you want for just repetitiously and religiously, just over and over, and just drill it in your head to think, that's me, that's the new me, that's this, that's that. I want this, I want that. No more suffering as the victim that doesn't have shit. Why? Because you change that thought in your head, in your mind, your thought process. You want to change your circumstances, change your thought process. I'm telling you right now, that is the magical key to success in anything you want to manifest, is to have faith, belief, trust, patience, and just as important as those words, gratitude. Give thanks every day. Be thankful you're alive. Give thanks for the things that aren't already there physically, but spiritually, divinely, they are, and they will show up and manifest for you in reality. because you have faith, trust, belief, patience, and gratitude all the way along the way there until you received it in your hands, the exact thing that you were wanting, the same thing that you wanted to manifest. It's yours. Those riches within your reach that you didn't know you have until now. That's the formula to manifestation. Feed your mind the good stuff, and good stuff will appear. As long as your mind is filled with clutter and all the bad stuff, worrying about this guy, that guy, he, she, him, her, neighbor, your relative, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, grandma, anybody that might not add any value to your thought process. Squash it, delete it from your files. I'm not saying forget about those people, but don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, interfere with your thought process of manifestation through the subconscious mind and the process it takes to get there through firm, burning desire and belief and faith, trust, patience, and gratitude, and belief that it will and it has already showed up as far as you're concerned. Let me give you a good example of how that is. If you ever ordered anything off of Amazon, you might check once, see when it was shipped, maybe check for a tracking, but you paid for it in advance. You paid in advance. How much trust and belief and faith would that take for you to pay someone in advance for something? See what I'm saying here? See the point I'm making? So if you can go that far with Amazon, you can go that far in your thought and belief and faith and trust and patience in and be thankful for the fact that it's on its way and it's going to be there and it's going to be delivered just like Amazon promised. You believed in that. They were going to be there at 4 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever time frame they may have told you. You are believing in that so much. Why can't you do the same when it comes to manifesting anything else you want outside of Amazon? It works the same way. It's a belief process. It works the same exact way. Hell, you believed in Amazon enough to give them money up front. Well, if you were tithing in a church and you gave them 10% of your money, it's the same thing. You gave them some money up front, knowing somewhere down the road you're going to be awarded that same amount of money and then some, probably 10 to 100 fold, 10 to 100 times as much. Why am I saying that? Because I know from experience. I've witnessed this. I've experienced this myself in my own life. I can speak for myself in that regard. I know it's true. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to instruct and educate you on how this works. Like I said, when I was younger, I couldn't win anything. Anything. Now, since I've changed my thought process almost 20 years ago, I've won a lot. A hell a lot. Lots of money. Uh, you name it. I was manifesting shit left and right. Couldn't believe it. I couldn't even believe my eyes, man. To go back to after I read that book that dude gave me, I go, to his house and he's like, dude, I needed a job. Like, you know, I said, you know what? I'm gonna pray for you. I wasn't into praying. Here I'm thinking I'm a freaking minister or pastor or some shit. I'm gonna pray for this guy. I'm new at this stuff, so I started praying for him that he'd get a job. I go to play the lottery at this store, and I knew this guy was looking for a job in the same store that I bought the lottery ticket from. That type of store, you know. And it was in his area too, where he lived. And he says, man, I need a job bad. My mom's been coming down on me and shit. Okay. So he wasn't a very young dude. He was only in his 30s at the time. And then, I was like now he's in his 50s. And I go to the store and I buy a pick four lottery ticket. Just give me $1 box that covers the numbers any way they come in, as long as I get 4 numbers right. I win, I win, I think it was 250 or something like that. If all 4 numbers come in. Like I said, I haven't won anything up to that point. I had just read that book too. And now I'm praying for the guy that let me read that book. Now I go to this store and then I see a for help sign in the window. And I asked the guy, I said, are you still looking for someone? He goes, yeah. He thought I was asking for myself. I go, no, man, I'm asking for a friend of mine that needs a job. Can I send him into you for an interview? He's Middle Eastern too. He knows how to speak Arabic. He knows the language, and I assume that's what you speak. And he said, yes. He goes, that would be helpful. So I sent him over there, and I buy my lottery ticket. The guy, long story short, he gets the interview, he gets the job, and I hit the lottery, win jackpot on the pick four for the first time ever in my life. What the fuck just happened? What just happened? Now I'm starting to get a little like supernaturally excited. Now I'm starting to understand things a little bit more. And at the same time, I'm not going to deny I was ever a skeptic somewhere along the lines. Even after that, I was still experimenting with things. But here's what freaked me out. And I don't want to go into a bunch of stories because I can tell you story after story of manifestation that freaked me out. And it happened because I thought about it. I thought about it happening, and it did. That's where the belief comes in, and the faith, and the trust, and being grateful for the things you already have. So there's room for more. Message. So that's what happened. I started manifesting thing after thing after thing, money, jackpot after jackpot, small jackpots. I think my biggest jackpot was was it just over 2.5 years ago. Yeah, I hit thousands. Uh, and then the next month I did it again. A couple years after that, I did it again. Big, big wins, not millions, but, you know, enough to say, hey, man, there's something going on out there that's real. It's real. And I'm experiencing it. I'm experiencing this because I changed the way I thought about things, about being a winner. Let me put it that way. I changed the way I thought about myself being a winner in everything. Everything. Not just winning money, but to win in every thought process. That's the key. And it works with relationships. It works with making friends. It works with your partner. It works with business. It works with making money. It works with being successful. It works with everything, even sports, whatever it is, whatever your most burning desire, your most focused aim may be that you want to manifest. It's a thought process that doesn't involve any negative value whatsoever. If it's not good, kind, or necessary, don't even repeat it. But to have good things, you must say, think, and do good things. Otherwise, you'll still be that same complaining person in that same predicament. I've been through a lot in my life. I don't like to complain. I don't like to have pity or feel sorry for me because my brother was murdered and my youngest son was also murdered. I don't want you to feel sorry. I just want you to learn like I have. I want you to learn like I did in the sense that you can comprehend how your thoughts become things. When I say that, it's manifestation of things through thoughts and words and actions that become reality, real in your life. And I'm speaking from experience. It's real. But anyway, I'm Mark, and today's subject was about manifestation. And I hope I hit base with whoever out there that may be listening. But that, from experience and other people's experiences, I can say if you understand what I'm talking about, what I've just said, if you can comprehend that, you're on your way to manifestation through faith, trust, belief, patience, and gratitude of the divine spirit, God, and Jesus Christ Almighty. I'm Mark. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again next time. Until then, peace, love, happiness to you.